Okay, we are live. Okay. So it's been a while. We need a mover and seconder for the minutes.
Hi.
Sandra?
Yeah.
Okay, and second?
I can second. It's Jamie.
Jamie? Okay, all in favor? Carried. Okay, perfect. Declaration of pecuniary interest? I don't think. No? Okay, seeing none. All right, mover and seconder for the agenda. Resolved that the agenda of the Heritage Register List of Property Subcommittee meeting be approved. Oh, hi Sean, how are you today?
Good. How are you?
Good.
Sorry about that.
That's okay. No worries. We're just on approval of the agenda.
Yeah, I can move approval. Jamie, if you want.
Okay, yeah, Jamie. And seconder?
Hi.
Sandra?
Sandra.
All in favor? Carried. Okay. On to business arising. So just to give everybody a bit of an update, as you're aware, the list of properties was approved at the March 21st meeting of City Council. So since that time, we had to do an official notification that comes from the clerk's office. That notification letter is being mailed out. So prior to that letter going out, we had to do a full PIN and property search for each of the properties. So that goes through legal, and then we have to pay the PIN search fee for each property. Those descriptions get added in, and then the letters are sent out to the property owners notifying that they are being listed. I'm also working with our IT department. We need to do some updates to the website. So looking at modeling it off of what something similar to what was in Markham, where right now we have a table that lists off each of the properties. It lists a bylaw number for the designated properties and just some basic information on the date that it was listed. So it's very short, but you also have the ability to search our website right now for each of the designation reports. So that's something that has been added in. Previously, we didn't have that interactive map where you could find out more information on the website. So the website that I'm looking at trying to do, or the pages, and I'm just going to pull it up just so you can get a bit of an idea on the route that I'm looking at trying to go. And I'm going to share my screen. So can let me know when you can see my screen.
I can see it.
Okay. So this is how Markham has set up their Heritage Register page. So you have the ability to actually do a search for properties that are on the register, which includes, in their case, properties that are part of a conservation district, properties that may have an easement listed, or all other properties. So these would be your designated properties. And in this case, this is an example of the listed properties. So you can click, you can search all, or you can narrow your search down by the type of property that you're looking for. And it's thinking. So, and then all the properties are listed on this table. And if you want to find out more information about the property, you can click on it and it'll give you basic information, the address, the actual legal description, which is those searches that we just completed, some basic information, and then the summary. It includes a photo, and then it also includes a map. So the map piece is another piece that I have to get done for each of the properties. So we have to get those created, and then adding in images. In some cases, they'd actually have older photos added in as well to the property. So that is a work in progress right now. So that's one piece that still is remaining. Yeah, that we'll continue to keep working on. So that gives you a bit of an overview. Did anybody have any questions about that component? Sandra, since you're on the phone, I know you weren't able to see what I was just showing. I'd be happy to share that with you at a later date when you're back in town, if that works.
Sure.
Okay.
That'd be great. Thanks.
Any questions?
No,
Go ahead.
oh, no question. Just that resource looks wonderful. It's better than anything I ever hoped for.
Well, it'll take a little bit of time as we work through with IT and their other projects, but I think it'll be a better search tool now that the list is expanding, and it'll make it easier for people to interact with that actual chart and listing.
Sorry, would you be including on that search tool the areas of local interest?
There'll be two parts. So we're hoping to have, I talked to Peter, we are hoping to have the locally significant areas, but it can't be part of the Heritage Register. The Heritage Register is something that we maintain, and it's part of an act, whereas locally significant is part of the official plan. So it would have to be part of a separate search engine so that it's not confused with the actual official Heritage Register.
Okay, and that question came up, well, to me anyway, maybe not to anybody else, but when we had the new request from 54 Summit, I did wonder whether that was part of one of those locally significant areas, and you confirmed that it was. And I guess my question is, in the future, would we be able to search that?
Yes, yeah. So I did talk to Peter again. It will just have to be, it could have a part on the heritage page, but it would have to make sure that it's very clearly separated from the official Heritage Register. Any other questions? No? Okay. So that kind of takes care of 1 and 2. The second piece that was there was the 76 East Street. So this was previously brought to the committee for consideration to have it included as a property on the listed property. So included on the Heritage Register as a listed property. So this was something that was going to come back to this group to take a look at for consideration. It had been brought to the committee before for designation, at which time we chose not to move forward with designation, but it's here again for consideration and recommendation, and then we'd have to reach out to the property owner and start going through those steps. So if everybody remembers, 76 East Street was built as a U.S. consulate and customs building in 1901 and served in that capacity until 1927. And many historical figures served as counselors. So that's kind of the basis that which they're looking at. Currently, it's East Street Pizza. So again, we have not at this time reached out to the property owner, and we would need to go through that process. Any comments or questions?
Well, I'd just like to comment that it's about 3 or 4 years ago that we did the designation report for that and made the decision at that time that it didn't meet our criteria for designation.
Correct, yeah. And I don't know that if at that time we had talked too much about looking at it as a listed property. But yeah, again, it was just referred to this.
So it was before we started the discussion on listed properties.
Yes.
So I'm sorry, I missed it. Are you saying that it is on this proposed list or the present list? Or it's not?
It's not, no, it's here for our consideration right now to see if we're going to go the next step to reach out to the property owner. And if this working group is making a recommendation to look at having it listed.
I'm trying to remember if we scored that when we did our walk around. Because I can remember standing next to Harvey looking at it and hearing him tell the history of it.
It wasn't on the list, or it's just not one that we included?
Oh, my computer's being really slow.
All right, I'll look. I've got the paper copy here. I've got to try and find it.
Oh, good. I'm thinking that we didn't score it because it was on East Street. But that may be a faulty memory. Oh, here's my full list here. Let me see. It's got everything. No, I don't have any properties on East Street that we scored.
No, we didn't include it.
That's
Yeah.
fine, because I have a very strong memory of standing across the street from the building and okay. So Harvey, are you suggesting that if we looked at that property again today for designation, it would not meet the criteria?
Well, I'm not, yeah, we're not considering it for designation today. Well, they're requesting that, but that's not today's decision, is it, or is it?
You're correct, Harvey. It's not that we would consider it for, nobody has applied for designation again since it was initially declined, but I'm sort of two minds about it. I think it would be a good candidate for this list, but we were also responding to a request that came from somebody other than the property owner. So part of me feels that it might be best to reach out to that property owner first, especially because if we do consider it for inclusion in the list, I mean, part of our criteria for deciding which groups or which properties made the final list had to do with this notion of, is it likely that we would approve a designation for these properties if it came forward? So it's a bit of a circuitous assessment we have to make here, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So it sounds like we don't need to make a decision today, but maybe we should get a feel for the committee. I like Sean's idea. Maybe we should just reach out to the owner and get their feeling. But I think anything to preserve this history, I vote in favor of trying to list it.
We could reach out to the owner just to gauge, to see if that's something they may be interested as far as the Heritage Register, and just tell them that, we are looking at, if this is something they're potentially interested in, then the committee would do some additional research to see if it would meet the criteria for listing before much work. Or do you think we should do some research and then see, well, I guess we could do the research first and then see if we want to reach out to the owner as well, if it meets the criteria for listing, and then potential future designation in the event that, we missed something in the initial, or when the initial application was submitted. It was 2016 when the request came forward.
Well, I think those requests go through the regular Heritage Committee meetings, and I think that's where that should be dealt with, rather than trying to deal with that individual one today. Because I'm assuming that we want to get a process in place in case we get requests for demolition and so on, and we have to have a subcommittee set up and so on. Are we moving on that, Virginia? Is that what our purpose is?
I think initially the purpose of the meeting was requested to review the 6 properties that had chose to send in letters of objection. But I think at the committee level, I thought that they were looking at us to take a look at it for the Heritage Register, since the designation application had been denied in the past, but maybe I misunderstood what, because this committee was dealing with specifically properties to be included on the Heritage Register initially.
That's right. So, so we have two things that we should do. We really need to have a subcommittee set up in case we get demolition requests, because we only have a certain period of time in order to respond to those. And then the other thing is, what do we do with these 6 properties where there's been a request to not be included in the designation or in the register?
Yeah, and I do agree. We're going to need a subcommittee. We really need a quick process map on how we'll address those, especially with the summer months coming upon us.
Yeah, for sure.
This might be a good time for me to say that I wondered if we wanted to, if there's any appetite for developing another list of potential properties to register and going through another round of property evaluation, because it was like 4 years ago that we did the last assessment.
Well, Jamie, already we have quite a few properties that we
I can
have
see.
not included in this because we wanted to do it as a trial balloon to see how it goes.
Yeah, so one list would be the original list that have not been registered, and then there's 2 more that have come up. The one on East Street and the Sacred Heart School have been suggested. So, and we, there's new members on the committee, and they might have some ideas too. Virginia,
Yeah.
how are you doing with the agenda? It's getting longer and longer, isn't it?
I'm making some notes.
Yeah, I think we need some direction here today. We're going off in too many tangents. Sorry, but we're not accomplish anything unless we get down to tax on some of this.
I'm going to go back to 76 East Street and suggest that we do a little bit more research on that location before approaching the property owner, because if we approach the property owner first, with a lot of unknowns, and then when we have a little bit more information on the location itself, we can I guess a designation report was prepared for this. Is that correct, Virginia?
No, there was no designation report. It was the application was submitted, but it wasn't approved at the committee level.
Okay.
So we never proceeded with any further research at that point.
Okay, great. So
no, but there must be notes on it, Virginia, because I did the background research on the property.
Yeah, I'm just going back to.
But I don't think that's important for today's agenda. I just think we should move on. The important stuff here today.
Okay, well, I'll pull up that information for a future meeting. And then I guess the last item really is the properties that filed objections to listing, which were the 6 properties.
So Virginia, if you could find the 2016 background documentation, could you share that with this committee for East Street? Because I would be curious to see it. Would you share it this committee or the whole committee?
No, it was brought to the Municipal Heritage Committee.
Yes. Okay.
Yes,
And
I,
I think. Okay.
okay, so I guess it was requested by a committee member or by the group to have the meeting to really look at the properties that have filed objections to listing. So I guess I'm going to open the floor to members of the committee as to what the thoughts were.
Could you remind me again of which ones they are? Because I've only got 4.
Yeah, it was the Windsor Park, the Tech, 15 Summit, 1 Herrick Street, St. Andrew's Church, and the ADSB at 6 on Albert Street.
I have a suggestion. My thought was that 2 or 3 members of the committee in Virginia, of course, sit down with the owners individually, not as a group, but each individual owner, although there's more than one owner, or the same owner for more than one property, and discuss what their objections and their concerns are. The feedback, as I saw them from Virginia, was that in some cases they were object to the fact that they wouldn't be able to tear any part of the building down. In the case of the Tech, for example, the main part of the building is the oldest part, and that's probably the part that we really want to see protected. Whereas some of the additions may not be so important from a heritage perspective. Same applies to the Windsor Park.
I agree with Harvey, and I think that there are also some parts where, especially something like the Tech, I don't mean to speak for other people, but from my vantage point, the internal construction of the building is not a significant interest to me from a heritage perspective. So if there were significant renovations, but it was merely the preservation of the facade of that structure, I think that that would still be aligned with our goals with the register. With maybe the exception of that main lobby of the Windsor Park, but of course all of this is still to be defined. But yeah, I think that it's wise to pursue direct conversations individually to allay any fears. And a lot of this, I think, stems from misconceptions, not only about the register, but about heritage designation status at all, right? Because I think even if they were to pursue designation, that would probably be in their interest, but that's not for me to decide.
Yeah, I'd like to meet with the owners as well. The one that I'm the St. Andrew's Church one, I think we could also identify the oldest part, because there's a newer part that includes the gymnasium and offices, and I think our focus might be on the original church building. And I think we could go back to some of the descriptions and maybe make that more clear in the description, that identifying, the original construction. And the one that they, I think, plan to demolish is the Sacred Heart Convent, and that may be, if we don't then list that building, it might be demolition by neglect anyway, because it sounds like that building is vacant at the moment and not in good condition. So I don't know. I think I wouldn't hurt to talk to the owners, I don't think.
Yeah, like I agree. I think our objective is to try and get parts of the buildings, the main parts of each building, the historical or heritage portions of the buildings as listed, and not worry about the peripheral attachments. And I think that's where the owners had concerns that they wouldn't be able to do anything. And then maybe they think they can't do anything to the interior as well. So I think we could help clarify with the owners.
Sandra, did you have any thoughts?
I always believe in, I agree, I always believe in reaching out to the owners because they don't know the whole story like we do. And more education may help them understand the bigger picture. And I always believe in working with them. So, yeah, I highly support the idea of reaching out to the owners. On a different note, I am so disappointed in the comment with regards to it being, potentially destroyed. That's a wonderful building. I really wish we had a bylaw to say that all developers have to keep a facade or a part of the front wall or something like in Toronto. I really wish we had that bylaw of some sort, but that's a whole separate discussion.
Well, part of the and I did the designation report was somebody else. Was it you, Jamie? Anyways, went through the whole interior of the property, and there's a tremendous amount of historical woodwork in there, and so there was more than really. It wasn't the exterior of the building, the structure itself.
That's true. Harvey, it was you and I that went through it.
Okay, Sandra. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, so there was a lot of. Sorry, go ahead. You're on the phone.
That's what I had to say. I was just going to say, just like the Windsor Park Hotel, there's a lot of internal pieces that are just fabulous. And I agree with Sean. There's sometimes, just exterior that we're interested in, but there's some buildings that we really like the interior. Windsor Park is another good example. We all marveled over that fireplace as one example, right? So, but anyway, I cut you off, Harvey, but continue on.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a tough sell on Sacred Heart, but we can still give it a shot. We don't have it accepted as for registration right now, and we can't lose anything by having a meeting with the sacred or the church people, I guess it is, that own it. So.
Okay, I will, I guess it'll depend on availability, who would be in attendance.
Just an idea around that. I don't know how the others feel. Personally, I don't feel like I have to attend every meeting, but maybe, between the four of us, if it was, just a matter of, who among us could be, who among us could attend, as opposed to trying to coordinate all of us to be together. Whatever.
Yeah, I agree, Sean.
I do agree that this is an education piece, that people may not understand the context or the difference between a designated property and a listed property, and it may just be to alleviate some fears.
Yeah, Virginia and I both met with Central United Church board members because they had concerns about being designated. And I thought that because they were designated, they had to maintain the property to a certain standard. And, they misunderstood. And we sat down and we discussed it with them. And I think Virginia, they were quite satisfied when we explained that there was no pressure on them to do anything as far as maintaining the designation status. And we came away quite satisfied, I think, both parties.
Yeah, I agree, Harvey. I think they were concerned with those potential challenges, and they've been a very good steward of the building, and they've done their best to keep it maintained really well. So
yeah.
okay, I'll work on trying to set up some meetings. Were there any other questions? I guess that would be the next step out of this, and then
The only comment,
pardon me, Sandra?
yeah, the digital tool does not work on my computer. It just doesn't. So I have to do the old-fashioned email on dates to set up a date with the owner, and you want all of that.
Yeah, and it may be depending on the owner's availability, that'll kind of dictate the windows that might be available. So if the doodle poll's a struggle, I can send it out via email to everyone as well, and just do it through email. It's a smaller group.
Yeah, sorry, on a general question, we're not in a position to start having in-person meetings yet?
No, not yet.
Okay, it's too bad.
Can I ask if everybody here has been vaccinated 3 or 4 times?
Yeah, I have.
Am I allowed to ask that, or is that not allowed?
I don't think there's anything stopping you from asking. I
Okay,
have.
well, I'm not attending a meeting if there are unvaccinated people in the room.
We're all friends. We're all friends. I mean, technically, you're not supposed to ask, but I'm
Oh,
not
all
gonna
right.
say
Well,
so, but
that's okay. It's just I can't attend a meeting if there are unvaccinated people in the room.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I'm vaccinated. Being on the council is kind of like a requirement.
Yeah, I'm fully vaccinated as well.
well, so
I'm
am I.
waiting for my 4th, another couple of weeks we'll be able to.
Yeah, I've got my 4th booked at the end of May. So.
Just a
You know,
one
it's
question.
just a matter whether the owner of each building has been
Oh yeah.
vaccinated. That's basically it. So, but I don't know. It's City Hall's requirement of whether you have in-person meetings or not. So.
Yeah, I think it may depend on the size of the group, but I don't think that that's something that I would be able to ask Jamie.
I just have a question more toward about next steps and these sorts of things, which is I think at our last general meeting of the Heritage Committee, there was talk of, or maybe it was the meeting before, there was talk about developing a pamphlet or something to that effect of just explaining the benefits of heritage designation and these sorts of things. And after we all thought, oh, that's a great idea, earlier this week, I thought, oh, geez, we just came up with another thing to put on Virginia's to-do list. And I just wanted to offer, I can draft something if folks don't mind giving me a month or two, just so I can shoehorn it in, so that it's not yet, it's so that it's not piling up on the to-do list, especially considering we have a lot of other more pressing items here.
Actually, Sean, I'm just going to share my screen. Please keep in mind this is a draft.
Oh, holy moly, you already did it.
No, it's been something
sorry.
I've been working on all of the forms we have to be redone. So I've got a binder about 3 inches thick full of updated forms. I just finished the request to delist, and I'm working on the request for listing forms. But this is, in addition, we had the frequently asked questions, which was circulated to committee and to every property owner as part of the package. But this provides an overview on heritage designation, what the process is. So what is heritage designation? can you designate a property? How do you know if your property warrants? I'm just going over the headings now. What is the process? And then it would link you back to the actual form. Is there fees? How to do research? And then what are the implications? So this kind of takes away some of those misconceptions. So, you know, what does heritage designation do and what does it not do? So it kind of separates some of those things out. So it doesn't restrict your sales. It doesn't, they're not required to restore it. So it helps alleviate some of those potential concerns. There's a whole section on maintenance and alterations. And I can share this heritage permit. So this is the piece that I'm working through right now with building. So it's not that there's going to be a fee associated with the permit. It's tying back the tracking process into our building department's process, because those applications come through the building department. So it's the creation of that form and how that ties back to building and when they're issuing those forms and that kind of internal system in place. So that's kind of one of the reasons this hasn't been released yet, because I have to continue to flesh that process out with our building division. And then it basically talks through about the benefits. So the different incentive programs that we offer, either through a designated property grant or property tax rebate, and then different resources, and then an updated application form. So yeah, so that is underway. And that's just one of, I think, I've got about 8 to 10 other forms that I've been working on.
Wow.
Yet. So it's yeah, so that's been ongoing.
Well, it looks
we
good.
need a similar form for registration as well. You know, the list that we're talking about right now.
Yes.
But you know, it's not as urgent, of course. So.
There is, I've got the requested Dlist done. I should have, so this is, I'm going to share my screen again. I'm just finalizing it as well. So heritage register list. Can you see my screen okay?
Not yet, no.
Oops.
There it goes.
What do you see?
Seeing the list.
Oh, okay. No, that's not the one I wanted it to share. There we go.
Yeah, that's it.
So this is right now, this is the form. Oh, I'm having trouble with my PDF today. But anyways, there's the 2 forms are created and they're just in the process of being uploaded. We're just making sure that they're all meet AODA requirements. So yeah, so those are done, which has been part of the process as well. So
It's an impressive amount of work.
we've been picking away at it.
So do we want to try and, like, we have a process for dealing with applications for demolition from owners of registered properties on the properties of interest list. Do we want to try to, we have the process in place. Do we want to establish a subcommittee so that if we do get an application, that we can address it as quickly as we need to, I guess?
Yeah, and that subcommittee, we would establish that at the next Municipal Heritage Committee meeting.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because it would have to go to the larger committee to establish any type of like subcommittee or working group.
All right.
Was there any other items?
Unfortunately, I have to let myself go. So if that's it, I need to skedaddle. I apologize.
No, thanks, Sandra, for jumping on today.
Absolutely.
Take care, Sandra.
Okay. Everyone
Bye.
stay healthy.
Yeah.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
So this may be a question for the Municipal Heritage Committee, but would there be any interest in continuing to assess more properties for the registration list? Either going back to our original list and adding more that have been suggested?
I think ideally right now for myself, I'd like to get the website done. I'd like to finish up what we've started before we start kind of taking another review of them, because there's still a number of pieces that we have to get into place with this. And then we also have that doors open discussion taking place and added on. And there's some additional forms that I do have to get updated along with that permitting process. So again, there wouldn't be a feed attached. It's more just a tracking system in place. So all of those pieces have to get I'd like to get them finalized before we kind of start to take another full look at them. Is everybody okay kind of with getting these completed?
That makes sense to me.
Yeah, it absolutely does. Thank you.
So I guess next meeting will still kind of maybe be to be determined. Initially, the next action item would be to start to look at some of those meetings with individual property owners, and then following that, we could look at having another meeting of the working group. Okay, if there's no other items, a mover and a seconder to adjourn.
I'll also move. It's Harvey.
Harvey?
I'll second. It's Jamie.
All right, all in favor? Perfect, thanks everybody. I'll keep you posted, okay?
Okay,
Have a great
thanks.
day.
Thanks.
Bye.
Everyone, bye.